okay, I'm going to go back to that analysis board really quickly just to show the end of that one. But it felt like if he had gone king e2, the problem is this rook on d1 can't go to d4 because then knight e6 is a fork of the bishop on f8 and the rook on d4, excuse me. And if you go rook d6, you're taking away the square from the bishop. So then I can go just like knight g6 or something, and your bishop's trapped because bishop e7 is knight h8 checkmate, which is ridiculous. So king e2, the rook has to move somewhere else, like rook c1, and then after knight g6, bishop d6. Maybe it's still not good enough, but I thought as soon as you're going to attack this bishop, like rook d8, you hit the bishop on d6. I feel like
then rook back to d1.
No, but my king's on e2. So your rook
sorry, I have the wrong position in my head. Yeah.
So I think that somehow that might have been. It might not be
knight on g6, pawn on f5, rook on d8, king on e2.
Yeah, it looks like that configuration.
That's possible.
Well, this is the last. Well, actually, I don't want to say the last, but it might be the final game of the 5+1 segment. They have about 6.5 minutes left. So if this game goes the distance as it has been, then this will be the final game of this time portion. But that last game was fascinating.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Actually, I'm gonna take a mental note of that game, and I want to look later. So that was game number 9. So I'm actually gonna write a message to myself to remember to look at that. But okay, we have a game going on right now.
Another complicated Caro-Kann. Provocative Vlad's pretty provocative, I would say. And I like his repertoire. It gives us some fresh looks. We're not getting Berlin's this match, for example.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of chiseling going on here.
Yes.
Right? You look at this position with capture on f6. You're opening the center more. Is Black going to be able to play a move like e5, or does that just help White as the position opens up more? And
Wesley, knight g2. Yeah, battle over the f4 square, e4 square, e5 square.
Which side do you generally? I mean, I don't really think you're a Caro-Kann player, but which side do you kind of think has the? I like Black's position, even though I'm not a Caro-Kann player myself.
I like Black's activity. I'm thinking about knight g6, other rook, but I play the white side of this, so I'm just trying to expand my horizons and think about the other person's feelings for once.
The reason why
I should play Black.
The reason why I like Black's position, or I would say, it feels all right, is because a semi-open F file feels very valuable in a way that semi-open E file doesn't. And that's a decision. Because now you've cemented yourself with an isolated E pawn, but you're claiming the D5 square as being advantageous. This knight can go to E4 at some moment, threaten knight takes G3.
Yeah, right now looks like a knight E4 moment, potentially with knight takes G3 if knight D3. But knight G2 is probably what Wesley's going to do regardless.
Yeah. And he plays it. So does Black...
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, at this stage, Black's saying he's going to be very active and counterattack because structurally, this is going to be pain if trades start coming in.
Yeah, and so you have to be very active. You're just getting E5 feels important for Black, but of course you can't do that.
So king h7.
So what's the idea in king h7?
I'm just trying to I want to play. I wanted to play even h5. I don't know. I'm trying to move out of the way.
Okay.
E5. Oh, I want to play e5 at some point. Maybe I don't need king. I still can't play.
Right.
I don't know. I'm trying to. King h7 feels. I don't know. It's almost like king 𝙬𝙬𝙬 or something. You move your king out of the way, then you play rook ae8. I wish I could. There's a pawn hanging on a5. Isn't that annoying?
Well, he took the bishop. I guess to claim. King h7 looks good to me. Honestly.
Well, now h5, bishop h6.
Aha, a new idea. But queen f7, okay, that makes sense. Getting your queen off the c file. So if you ever take on d5,
it might be this bishop e4, queen f3 counterplay business. That a5, I don't think can be captured. It looks too much to me. That you have to take with the knight and then you have to pull it back. Otherwise, the queen is tethered to it. So some super dynamic play by Vladislav right now. And he might even play b6 to stop knight c5, protect. Yeah.
Look at you, man. Knight b4 is always an option. It's protected by the pawn a5, which also covers the c6 square.
Yeah.
But the knight on d5 for now is very good.
Yeah, it's preventing white's knight on g2 from grabbing maybe key real estate on f4.
Yeah, this knight would love to go to f4, e3, but the knight on d5 will always trade off for it. So that's why king h8 is nice. It's like saying if I ever lose the pawn e6, there won't be threats on the diagonal. So he goes knight e3. You should just take on e3 right now. The d4 pawn is under attack, right? There's a rook pinning that pawn. So knight takes e3 feels right here.
Knight takes e3 and rook d6. I'm impressed. Like, if all things considered, that knight on b3 is now not such a great piece.
Right. We always talk about this. Knight on b3, knight on b6, g3 or g6. A pawn 3 squares away just dominates it. And this pawn on b6 covers a5 and stops knight from getting over to c5. This
is a great position for just I'm impressed. Oof, he's handled it well, but I think you do take on e3. What is he thinking about right now if you don't take on e3? Because, you know, I don't think you want to lose that light squared bishop. But
sometimes I wonder if they're just thinking of the follow-up move, right? Like he wants to play the next few moves quickly. He played rook d6 first.
So he wants to take back on f5 with the pawn.
Yeah.
And then he's wants to play f4. Oh, no.
Whoa, what?
It's dynamic. No, this is nice. I'm assuming it's nice because it's not what we would have done right off the top.
Eric, I don't like it. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't like it.
Is he going to say that he's got like knight b4 and c5 or some...
But e6 is always hanging, and like bishop d3, here it comes. Like bishop b1 and trying to mate you on the diagonal. So... it was not... I would never have played it myself. But what about knight e7, knight f5 right now? Yeah, knight e7. Maybe there's rook e4 ideas, because if you go I can't go queen g5, f2's hanging. So never mind. I was like trying to jump my queen over to the...
He did get knight b4, and now c5 is a threat.
Yep.
Everything is covered.
So you watch out for queen e4.
Okay.
Clearly one of the ideas.
h5, queen e4. You can't play bishop h6 because of queen e5 check.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to play bishop f6, and then you can...
That's ugly. And then maybe white plays like rook f1, pawn f3 kind of stuff. And okay.
That's in your face.
Yeah, I'm taking that right away. And then playing knight d2. Play knight d2, knight c4. Oh gosh, this is turning around.
Yeah, knight c4. Knight c4 is a huge improvement for that piece. But knight c4, does your knight get trapped, Robert? After rook takes d4, knight b6, rook b8. So then you play b3 after.
No, I played rook takes e6 because you're
okay. Yeah, rook takes d6 is.
I think knight c4 taking on b6 was better. And let's bring up an analysis board because it didn't happen. It's just to show everybody what we're talking about. Was instead of rook takes e6, he has an option to go after both pawns. And knight c4 says, okay, your rook's under attack, so you'll take my pawn d4. I take on b6. And Eric pointed out that rook b8 looks like it traps this knight on b6, but after rook takes e6, unfortunately your king is out of real estate.
Yep.
Right? You're getting checkmated. So if you take my knight, I'd go rook check on the back rank. You only can move your bishop back to f8, which is bad for black.
Huge transition for white here that the knight on b3 is on e4. Yep. Fantastic piece. The knight on b4 looks nice, but the bishop on b1 does a good job covering it. And in an endgame, this g4 pawn is going to be a huge problem because black can't really defend it with.
And actually, you're spot on about this knight on b4. It's good because it protects c6. But at some point, you can't really just focus on the quantity of pieces you have. Just think, I need to improve the quality of this knight because the knight on b4 is not doing anything. And knight to d5 hangs c6, which you don't want to hang, especially as this bishop can switch diagonals to a2.
So if rook, I was going to ask if rook g6 what the move was. I wouldn't have traded my knight there. That's good.
But this h pawn is now a problem.
Look at the time again. Now Wesley's ahead and Vlad's got no time.
There's time, and the one thing I'll point out is, and I always do this, light square bishop, h8 is a dark square. So if black can trade off some pieces and, I just put a bishop on d3 by accident. But if you can trade off some pieces and you leave white with an h-pawn and bishop versus a lone king, that is a theoretically drawn position. So that's probably not going to happen. It's not going to be relevant. But I always point those things out because you never know when they come in handy. So just put that in the deep recesses of your brain. And all right, so how does white actually make progress here. B3, putting the pawn. I feel like it's
Rook
really not,
D5. It's funny. I didn't think you could hold these pawns because it's like, but it's. I don't see the clear path here.
and actually Rook C5 now, and then you can free up your knight. And Rook C3 is a threat.
Where are you going to put your knight?
I haven't figured that part out yet, but I figured King G7 now. Yep.
Yeah. Are you making? I feel like you're F3. Do we play F3 right now?
But F3, there's always take on F3, and this B3 pawn is very weak too. So,
it is weak, but at least if it's a pawn race, the bishop is normally better than the knight.
Right, because the bishop has a long range.
Yeah. If Wesley feels like, hey, I should push this, then besides F3, I just don't see how you create. Oh.
Okay. He's forcing the issue. All right, so now you have to go Rook C.
King G6. King G6, Rook H8. And then you can. Oh, the problem. So knight D3.
Bishop E4.
King G7. Oh no, you're right. Rook H7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he checks and goes back.
But how does Wesley win a tempo here?
Haven't we seen a position like this before? This is so funny.
He's definitely making progress because his bishop on E4 does a lot more than the knight on B4. But
wait, but now you're gonna get that pawn blockaded. So
you're right.
King G7 always, right?
King G7 immediately. You don't want to allow King H6.
Right.
King
So
H7.
what's he thinking about? King G7.
Oh, he's gonna play King G8. He's just saying he's got everything covered, but that's a little risky.
Whoa! And it looked like he almost lost on time.
Wait. Push the pawn. Yeah, no, it does lose.
Yeah. What was that?
He should. Oh man, he got a little too fancy there. Just King G7.